Welcome to the new episode of our podcast on the spot, zooming in the world. Today we have a very hot topic. It's elections in Romania. Yesterday, the first round of presidential elections took place, but this is the year that mega elections take place, both parliamentary for both chambers and presidential elections. It's, I think, for the first time since 2004, then in 1 year, uh, all elections, major elections are held in Romania. So today I have a great honor and pleasure to host Mr. Dan Barna from USR, from Save Romania Union party. He is a member of European Parliament and also vice president of the Renew Europe group in the European Parliament. He was a president of USR for 4 years, if I'm not wrong, and also was a presidential candidate 5 years ago and won 15% of the votes. Mr. Barna, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure to have the chance to discuss with your friends and your audience.
So yesterday, first round of the presidential election took place and rather shocking results. And so I would appreciate if you can comment on the results, yesterday results of the elections.
Yeah, this year definitely is the most electoral year in the modern times of Romania, because also this year we had the European, of course, and we also have the locals. So actually all the elections possible in the locals, presidential, parliamentarian, and European, it was in 1 year. And the result we had a few hours ago and in the first round of the presidential is somehow connected with this outcome, because in June the governing majority, which is composed by socialists and the EPP party, the National Liberals, decided completely out of any previous rules or experience or tradition in Romania to put together the euro with the locals, making in a way early locals elections by 5 months. It was supposed to have the locals in the autumn, in November about, and they put in on June exactly to comasare is the Romanian word, to comasate, to put together with the euro, because they were afraid the weaker partner in the governing coalition, the PNL, the National Liberals, were afraid by the results. So they tried to suppress the opposition, putting the euro with the locals, and the Prime Minister Ciolacu accept this. And because of that decision, the result, the unexpected result, and the unforeseeable consequence happened yesterday in the first round of the presidential, because the feeling in the society was that there is no rule any longer available. Doesn't matter that the election, the mayors were supposed to have 4 years of mandate. It might be 3.5 if the government decide like this, and it was the case. And it doesn't matter. There are certain calendar and certain moment when some elections are planned, because the government can overnight just saying in 3 weeks we'll have elections, which was the case when they decided to put them together. So all the polls till yesterday said the Prime Minister, Mr. Ciolacu, the current Prime Minister and the Social Democrats presidents, will be in the second round. And there was a debate who will be in the second one for the second round between our candidates, Elena Lasconi, the pro-European party USR, and the pro-Russian extremist party George Simeon. The outcome was completely unforeseeable, because on the first position in this election, it was a guy, Călin Georgescu, a person, a man, who actually in all the polls was around 4%, 6%, in the last 2 weeks, maybe 8%, and it was in the last week, few days before the election, it might be 10 maximum. So we had 14 candidates, so it was 6 with some chances. It was Mircea Joana, the former deputy secretary of NATO, former president of the Socialists, was also running as independent this time. It was the leader of the Socialists, Mr. Ciolacu. It was the president of the National Liberals, of the EPP party, Mr. Ciucă, also former prime minister in the coalition. It was Elena Lasconi and George Simeon, our party, the extreme right party pro-Russian. So those 5 were considered having some chances, and the fight was between them. And there were another 9 people all of them few percentage, 1, 2, 3, 4 around. So Călin Georgescu was in the second row of expected performance. Magically, completely unforeseeable, it was not even one single poll, seeing he will have a good performance. And the outcome was that he got more than 2 million votes. 2 million votes. He's in the first position, and he overpassed all the other candidates.
I'm sorry, it was 9.4 million that voted approximately, yeah?
Sorry?
Out of 9.4 million.
Yeah, exactly. So he got 22 something. And it was till 2 hours ago, it was a fight between our candidates, Elena Lasconi, and the prime minister, the current prime minister, the socialist president, Mr. Ciolacu. And we end up prevailing, and our candidate, Elena Lasconi, this time more than happy and enthusiastic, succeeded to pass the socialist candidate, the prime minister, who created all this mess, actually, and actually he paid for his completely wrong and stupid decisions and greedy decision in terms of getting some votes in euro and end up being completely expelled by the chance to become the president of the party, because it never happened after Ceausescu fall, 1989. Never happened the socialists to miss the second round for the presidentials. All the time it was between the socialists and the center-right candidate. Most of the time, the right candidate succeeded to win, but the socialists were always with around 40% in the second round. So Mr. Ciolacu managed to perform such a bad result. He missed the second round by his first try, and Elena Lasconi, our candidate, managed to be in front of him with about 2,000 votes. Imagine, out of 9 million to have 2,000 votes difference. And we stayed all the night counting with 0.5 difference in each of the section and counting 200 votes there, you look 58 vote there, and it was unbelievable night.
Wow.
So in this moment, we will have this completely unknown guy. I mean, all the majority of the voters probably expect his voters were asking, who is this person? We never saw him. He was not a public figure. He existed somehow in the discussions, but he was not a prominent political figure at all. So everybody's, who is him? So actually, he's the instrument of the Russian propaganda, and he succeeded without any kind of campaign. He didn't have a rally. He didn't went to the television. He won only by TikTok. And this is a sad reality, because in the last week, this is why none of the polls mentioned him. In the last week, probably supported by Russians, he completely covered TikTok in Romania. All the other campaigns on TikTok, including ours, because we also had some, but soft campaign covering all on the platforms. We had some content on the TikTok. Completely disappeared in the last week. And TikTok, maybe you cannot put money there like it is for Facebook, or where you are boosting a campaign. You put some money and you have a certain number of people seeing your material. In TikTok, this is not possible. In TikTok, it's only about algorithm. So it's clear that the Russians supporting him, the discussion in this moment is that they are trying to take revenge of what happened in Moldova, and they succeeded to promote in the second round of the presidential elections in Romania a candidate who never previously politically existed in the country, in the political framework. I mean, it's unbelievable because, you see funny things on Facebook. You see maybe some materials which might impress you. But 2 million Romanian citizens went to vote and put a stamp on his name. I mean, they were technologically guided through TikTok to take decisions that they might, 1 week before the elections, never consider to.
But so what were his main messages? What were his main messages?
His main messages were very without content, but in a way very emotional, saying water, life, food, our nation should unchanged. And this is all his campaign about food, water, energy, freedom, the nation. And
was he
no programs.
Anti-NATO?
And all, explicitly, I mean, he's saying Putin is a nice guy, loving his people, loving his country. He's a peace lover. We shouldn't care about the Ukrainians because it's not our problem. We should care about our food, energy, safetyness, family. Dot. We don't care. We shouldn't care about anything else. Just about us being looking to our shoes in a way. So explicitly saying NATO is not good for us. We should care. I mean, he's explicitly delivering pro-Russian messages. He's a fan, as I told you, of Putin. And in this moment, and I'm in a way optimistic that our candidates have a really good chance to become the next president of Romania, Elena Lasconi, because she's pro-European, she's pro-NATO, she's a Democrat, she's a liberal, she's a true liberal. And I hope, but with this new technology, never know, I hope that will come a bounce back reaction. I mean, people were so shocked seeing this guy beating everybody, that I expect to have a large citizens' participations in these elections, and we should, if our society is still functioning, we should have a good result. But it is not certain, because we also will have to fight with the misogynism, which is a reality in the Eastern Europe. We should face it. I mean, it's also available for Serbia. It's for whole Eastern Europe. The social acceptance of women participation is real in terms of the law. It's not necessarily a problem of the legislation, but is a problem of public perception, especially in certain level, in certain segments of the society. So we might have this problem on one hand, and on the other hand, this influence to your daily base instrument, which is the phone. We are discussing now by phone, at least for my case. I don't know, maybe you are on a laptop, but and having this and popping up messages saying, look, this guy, it's exactly like you, and being profiled, because the problem is those people voted with Georgescu because they were profiled and they received messages in fully accordance with their area of interest and their area of values. And that's the real problem. I mean, continuing like this, if you are not blocking, if you are not stopping TikTok and platforms using this kind of profiling, our voting mechanism could not be efficient or useful any longer, because people will just follow like robots the messages they are receiving night before in their phone.
Yeah, I understand. So next Sunday, there will be parliamentary elections taking place for both chambers of the parliament. So how do you perceive the influence of the first round of the presidential elections on the parliamentary elections, and whether some realignments would happen before the parliamentary elections or just after the election, before the second round of the presidential election?
Yeah, of course. Actually, we do expect to have a significantly better result because our candidates step in the second round. And normally when, the people like to follow the winner in a way. And in this moment, Elena Lasconi is perceived as the winner. She managed to be the prime minister, the social democrat candidate, which I've told you, they never miss the second round. So it is a huge victory. It's not just a symbolic one. And we hope that the people will vote for her in order to give her the instruments to the capacity to build a majority. So we hope to have a better result than the previous elections when I was the president. Even that time we got 16%, so it was a good result at the time, and I hope we'll manage to do it better this time. It's also interesting to see what will happen because the other candidate, the pro-Russian one, does not have a party behind him in this moment, at least. So it's foreseeable that he might put together the sovereignist parties in Romania, which is our the George Simeon party, which is one of the losers of this campaign, and also the radical extreme pro-Russian party, which was Diana Shoshwaka, who was expelled by the Constitutional Court for running. So she has a party.
For the split of the Grand Coalition, yeah? Before the election.
Yeah. So we'll see if most likely all these sovereignist movements will gather together behind of this candidate. And on the other side, we'll see, and this is interesting to follow, how will be the voting message from the PNL and the Social Democrats, the PSD and the Social Democrat and the PPP party, the PNL, because I hope that they will be responsible and they will follow their mouth, claiming they are also pro-European and pro-NATO, and they will support our candidate Anna Asconi for the elections. And the question is, coming to your questions, because I'm not trying to skip it, the parliamentarian. It's interesting what will be their messages in this first week before the second round of presidentials, because they can deliver the message after the result of the parliamentary elections. I mean, this week exactly it was also a bad call made by the Social Democrats and by Mr. Ciolacu, and he paid for that. He put 3 consecutive weeks elections, so it's presidentials, parliamentarian, and then presidentials, 3 consecutive weeks. And parliamentarian, they put it by purpose on 1st December, when it's the national day.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you why it was by purpose. It was also the first time in the history of the country, never happened to have the national day elections on the national day. Because in Romania, I don't know if it's Serbia is the case, but in Romania is the tradition that during the national day, any mayor in the country, for all the mayorship, is providing free food in the street for citizens celebrating the national day. So it was bean with pork knock or big pot food for the citizens. So it was considered like a good trick to convince people from the socialist. You know. Yeah. Go to vote, show me you voted, and I'll give you a sausage. So and they were so cynical, they did this. It never happened in the history of the country. They did this, putting the elections exactly on this day. So it might have an influence, this one, but what showed these elections is that the people are not actually following the parties, the big mass parties, as is the case of the socialists, because like everywhere, the socialists are in the specific parts of the society, people with disadvantage or some problems, or rural especially, and there is their electorate normally everywhere in Europe. So, but these elections show that they are not following any longer. I mean, they seems to be more vulnerable to the TikTok than to the mayor's recall. So we'll see what will be the situations. But it's critical to be able to create, after those elections of parliamentarian, to create a pro-European majority. This is the aim and the challenge for the parties in this moment.
So you mentioned that also at the same time European elections and local elections took place in June, but there was a huge discrepancy between the results of the European elections, because the Grand Coalition, the ruling coalition, won slightly less than 50%, but at the local level, I think around 70%. So why is such a discrepancy in the results? Do they have a really strong party structure, local structure?
Actually, they used, as I told you, they decided to suppress the European elections. I mean, to be sure that the oppositions will not get a good result, putting all the money on the local, because the Grand Coalition, Socialist, PSD, and PNL together are having, I don't know, 90, maybe 85%, if it's not 90, of the mayors. For example, the Socialists have 2,000, the PNL have 1,000, and we have 50 mayors. Mm-hmm. So having such a, in terms of local level, we knew that at the national level we have significantly better support, because in the biggest city, and we had the mayors of the biggest city, of Timișoara, of Brașov, of some districts of Bucharest, Bacău, we are there well represented and well supported. In the rural area or in a small urban, there our support is not in a very good, is not so strong. So these are the difference. So because when they are locals, our result is lower than the media for the parliamentarian.
And so what are, besides this really, let's say, efficient TikTok campaign, so what are the causes for the rise of populism in Romania? Because if you add up the candidate Georgescu, who won 22%, and Simeone, who won around 14%, so it's more than 1/3 of the votes went to populist candidates. So is it also the economic situation, or also situation related to the war in Ukraine? And there is a 600 kilometers border between Ukraine and Romania, so Romania feels the pressure from the war. So is there any also influence of the Donald Trump's victory in the United States? Did it have any influence on the campaign?
Actually, all of the above, if I will try and answer, because Romania is a part of Europe. I mean, everywhere in Europe, and I'm not meaning European Union, in Europe as a geographical coverage, the populism and extremism was increased in the last, 5 years everywhere because of the crisis. When there is a crisis in the society, which is the case, and it was the case, it was COVID, it was the energetic crisis, it was the economic crisis, the prices, because of the energy, the prices of all the goods went up. And then it was the example of success from the United States with the Trump victory. And then it was the war, which come with fear and tension and emotion and uncertainty. And all this put it together, generate in the society the desperate need for magical solution. And magical solutions are promised, they are not delivered, they are promised by the extremists. So the populism and the extremism are rising when the world is in crisis, or a society, particular society, if we're talking about the European one. So, and Romania being part of this picture, of this frame, of course, cannot be different. So it's exactly because the line of the extremists in Romania, of the pro-Russian extreme right parties, is exactly similar with the one everywhere in Europe. I mean, we shouldn't care about the others. Our nation is the only one who matters. Peace for ourselves is sufficient. We shouldn't care about what Putin is doing. There is just a quarrel between Ukraine and the Russians, so it's not. We shouldn't be involved and concerned. And of course, the state is not providing sufficient, or doesn't care about us as citizens. And all these anti-system extremist lines are delivered without solution. But the people are not looking for solution. The people are looking for hope. So this is the real problem. And those which are promising the nicest hope get some votes because the people are afraid and tensioned.
And if you can say a few words about the possible, let's say, geopolitical consequences of the elections. We know that currently the largest NATO base is being built in Romania, and that Romania is also host of the U.S. ballistic anti-missile shield. So could this election influence in a way Romania's position in Euro-Atlantic integration?
I don't, how should I put it? I don't dare to imagine that the extremists will prevail in the elections in this moment. I mean, it's really difficult to foresee, because knowing the country, knowing the political parties, knowing the position of the majority of the citizens, they are fully aligned pro-NATO, pro-European Union. I mean, some of them are truly believing that they're extreme pro-Russian right candidates. They are not pro-Russian. No, no, no. Of course, they are not. I mean, the people. It's a clivage in accepting the reality. I mean, they are. If you start explaining and showing, look, he said this and this and this. Look to the Russian propaganda. It's exactly the same line. Look what was their activity. There, yeah. I never thought so. I never considered this. I mean, the people are just picking. That's the problem with the populism. That you are picking exactly what is fitting for your fears and your needs, and you ignore the rest of the package. So when somebody is putting you the mirror in front, showing the whole package, the people are okay. Because when I'm in campaign and on the street, I'm discussing with people about Simeon, and it was also the case for Georgescu. Look, would you consider to give your money to Simeon to take care, to administrate your wealth, your resources? Would you consider to have Simeon taking care of your parents, of the hospital your parents are treated, or the school your children are going in? Would you consider to be organized by Simeon guys? No, of course not. But we are not discussing.
He's a former football hooligan.
Yeah. He's talking about our nation. Even politically, it's exactly about this, about choosing people to take care about your money, your health system, your education system. It's about this. It's not about talking about flag and nation. This is a theory. Practically, you are discussing, give somebody power to your destiny, to your daily based life. No. I mean, if you put the image in like this, you manage to change the perspective somehow. But it's difficult to identify people by people, because you need this kind of discussion to enlighten a bit what's the problem with the populism, that it's actually not offering solution.
I would also appreciate, for the end of our conversation, if you can share your experiences from you already mentioned the elections in Moldova, and in a way it was Putin's revenge supporting Georgescu in these elections, and anti-Western forces and candidates. So you were part of the observatory monitoring mission for the elections in Moldova, which was at the end won by Maya Sandu, by the way, my classmate from Harvard. So maybe you can say a few words about your impressions from these elections.
Yeah, it was. I had some experience. I have actually some experience in monitoring elections, because I was also in Azerbaijan, in Poland, in North Macedonia. So I monitored. I had few missions, because during my 2 mandates in the Romanian Parliament, I was leader of the OAC Parliamentary Assembly of the Romanian Parliament. So having this ODIR monitoring election system, I was part in that system. So I was in a way a bit surprised about the way the elections were organized, which looked very peaceful and without particular problems in terms of voting. And that happened because the Russians made their homework before. I mean, developing that network, I don't know if you know this in Serbia, they developed a network of social supermarket with 90% subsidized Russian food products in a very cheap price. And all citizens stepping in were allowed to buy what kind of food they preferred in a very cheap price, being asked to deliver their telephone, mobile, and email. And through this mechanism, providing cheap food or cheaper food, but collecting the data, they managed to develop a system of 300,000, a network of 300,000 citizens, not politically involved, but vulnerable to messages. And those people were directly to use messages in the last day before the referendum and the elections. So it was a very perverse way of the Russian influence this, one of them, because they also had the people paid exactly. It was some of the pro-Russian church, because there are two metropolises in Moldova. Is the Basarabia metropolis, which is the traditional old one of the country, and it was the Moldova metropolis, which was actually created by Russians, only with Russians priests, so-called, but actually propaganda guys. And they were called. They had a visit in Moscow. They received cards, and then they got money on those cards to get them out and split it to the citizens. It was the local authorities managed to document more than 10 million euro, which were distributed by knocking to the door. I mean, knocking to the door. Hello, have this 100 euro and do not go to vote, or go to vote against. And the message was very pervert, and this was quite interesting for me. They didn't say in the campaign, come to Russia and don't go to the European Union, because nobody would have bought that kind of message. They said, European Union is great, but not now. Let's see, let's wait a few years. Maybe in 10 years it will be better. Let's wait for the moment. And in the referendum, that was the problem, because many people said, it's good here, but not now. And amazingly for me, and stupefying in a way, it was that exactly the areas where they got the more European resources and the more European funds. Again, where is the gasoduct with Romania, the gas pipe with Romania, and the transforming station, and the region is significantly infrastructure developed and the quality of life developed. There they vote strongly anti-referendum of pro-European direction. I mean, it was unbelievable the way the propaganda succeeded to switch the mind of the people. Even their life was increased by European support, by European money, by European projects. Somehow they bought the idea that is not so good European direction. So these were some of my findings, which I shared with you and with your audience.
Thank you. So, Mr. Barna, I wish your candidate, Elena Lasconi, to win in less than 2 weeks, and I wish your party great results in the parliamentary elections next weekend, and also for Romania to keep its Euro-Atlantic direction. And I would like to congratulate your country for finally joining Schengen area on January 1st next year. So in less than a month and a half.
Let's hope it will happen, because you saw there was some discussion. There is not an official formal decision, and even we are accepted, the controlling to the border will continue for at least 6 months. So, okay, it's definitely a step ahead. So it's good, but let's see it become reality.
Hopefully it will. So thank you again for being our guest, and thank you so much for sharing your vast experience with us.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Hugs, all the best for you and for your audience, dear friends. All the best.